Welcome everyone. I'm Marnie Wandner, co-founder of Equilibrium, along with Nicole Blonder, who's here. Before we get started, I just want to invite everyone to take a deep breath and just leave everything that you were just doing behind and just be present. So we'll just take one breath in through the nose, deep into the belly, and out through the mouth. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. This workshop is for you. This workshop is to focus on how you can be best taking care of yourself. We know that there's a lot of things that, we talk about wellness and we talk about health, and there's things that we should do and we could do, and it's very overwhelming at times. There's a lot of information out there, and so this workshop is really going to be boiling it down to a handful of things that can actually have an impact on our health, and that are super easy and accessible and fun. So just a little bit about Equilibrium. Equilibrium is an organization that Nicole Blonder and I started a little over a year and a half ago, and 2 years. We have been focusing on, it's an initiative that focuses on bringing wellness and holistic health initiatives to the music industry. Nicole and I have both worked in the music industry for a very long time, and we're also both holistic health coaches. So this is our kind of way to build that community, and also to bring resources to our peers and musicians and everybody that works in the music industry. You guys all might have gotten an email with a worksheet. So if you didn't get that worksheet, Helena just dropped it into, and I'll explain who Helena is in a second. She just dropped that into the chat. Open that worksheet, you can download it, you can even print it out if you want, but this is a way for you guys to just kind of jot down things in each one of the different sectors of wellness that we're going to go into today. And jot down things that the panelists are talking about that impact you and that you want to kind of remember for the future. This is also being recorded, but this is a way for you to kind of make your own little wellness toolkit, or your own little routine. We're also going to have some time at the end for questions. So we will be, so if you have them, you can drop them into the chat as we go, or you can hold them until the end, but we definitely want to hear from all of you guys. And I just also wanted to hear from you guys now. If you want to drop into the chat where you're tuning in from and what you do. Are you an artist? You work on the industry side, management, publicity, what have you? Drop it in there. We'd love to see who everybody is. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Helena from Record Union, who's going to give a little bit of background on all the wonderful things that they do.
Yes, hi. So glad to see that so many of you have joined us for this workshop. Yeah, my name is Helena, and I work at the digital music distributor Record Union. One of the organizers behind this event today, together with Equilibrium, and we're super happy to do this work together. We've been discussing it for a long time. I'm not sure if everyone here knows what Record Union are doing, but we're as I said, like digital music distribution company, which means that we're helping independent artists and labels to release their music to the world. Something that we've done since 2008. And back then, music distribution were a great barrier for artists, and Record Union played an active role in like making distribution available to all artists in the world. And our goal with doing that is we want to strengthen the independent music community and also create a music industry that is democratic, accessible, and transparent for the many and not just a few artists, which we believe has been the case. And our vision is to enable and support the full potential of every music maker in the world, which is quite bold, but we believe a vision should be that. And one important part of this is to tear down barriers in the music industry. And to us, barriers can be like music distribution, they can also be like mental health. And we've had this feeling for a long time that's been bothering us, that mental health is something that is increasing within the music industry. So to like confirm this hypothesis, we did a survey 1.5 years ago among our artists, and we found that about 73% out of like 1,500 music makers said that they had experienced symptoms of mental illness in relation to their music creation, and as many as a third had experienced panic attacks. So with that as inspiration, or maybe that's the wrong word to use in this, but with that in mind, and also with our vision in mind, we launched an initiative called the 73%, where we donated $30,000 to enable and support projects that aim to prevent or treat mental illness, especially then among music makers and people working in the music industry. And that was also an attempt to like contribute to a healthier music climate. But then also we wanted to take action ourselves. So we launched the Wellness Starter Pack, which is a toolbox for well-being created with music makers in mind. And I will post a link to that in the chat so you can check it out. But the reason for creating this was the same study that we did showed that I think it was 1 out of 4 music makers said that they didn't prioritize their mental health and well-being. But as many as 1 out of 6 said that they wanted to do so, and preferably by sleeping more, eating better, working out, being aware of feelings, and also surround themselves with more positive people. So therefore we created the Wellness Starter Pack, and it explores those areas. So sleep, positivity, mindfulness, exercise, and nutrition, and the impact that those things have on artists' mental health. And for that, we also had a group of experts helping us, and one of them who you meet here today, Dan. Super glad to have you on here as well. And the goal with the Wellness Starter Pack has been to provide legitimate and science-based information and tangible tools to help you artists prioritize and take better care of your mental well-being. And our ambition with this workshop is to be sharing more tools and resources and strategies for you to manage mental wellness in music, both during, COVID, and but also beyond that. And I really hope that you find it useful, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions to me or Record Union. Yeah, so good luck today, and I really hope that we can make some difference with this.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you guys do and sort of the inspiration for all of this. It's very much aligned with what we do, so we're really grateful to be presenting this with you.
Yeah, likewise. Really happy to work together with you.
Yes.
You're also doing such an important work.
Thank you.
So, but I'll mute myself and just listen into this today.
Thanks, Helena. Yes, the idea of this was born way back in pre-COVID time, so we're grateful to be able to bring it to you guys now. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of holistic health. So, the word holistic gets thrown around a lot, and really kind of references wholeness, and that we are whole beings, and our physical health, our mental health are all intertwined. Everything that we do affects each other. And in order to sort of pay attention to holistic health, you have to look at many different aspects of your life and yourself, from your exercise to what you're eating to how you're feeling, to things like your home environment and your education or your social life, where you find joy, how you relate to spirituality, how you deal with your finances, and how you relate to your career. One day you might be feeling like I have a stomach ache, and one day you might be feeling like I'm in a bad mood, and another day, you may feel kind of lethargic, but you might not really think about how all these things are integrated. And so the idea of holistic health is really looking at the whole person, the big picture, which is not something that traditional Western medicine often does for us, because we go to one doctor for one thing and one doctor for another thing, and often it can be challenging really on us as individuals to put those puzzle pieces together. So with our events, with Equilibrium and everything that we do, we really like to focus on the idea of holistic health, and it's all related to mental health. And as Helena was saying, obviously mental health is kind of like an umbrella for all of this, but everything that we do and all of our experts will talk about today, sleep, mindfulness, nutrition, exercise, mental health. You can see my cat back there. She's joining us. Uh, it's all really interrelated. So that's something for you guys to all kind of think about and keep in mind as we go through this, and kind of reflect on your own experience in day-to-day life, and kind of take that with you going forward. So the areas that we chose to focus on for this workshop are kind of key areas that we see important in the music industry, which Helena kind of outlined, which is sleep, which Dan will be talking about, nutrition, which Millie will be talking about, mindfulness and meditation, represented by Manjeet, and exercise, which Rich will get into. And, you know, I think those are the elements from the Wellness Starter Pack that we feel like are, you know, especially crucial. So with that, I will invite all the panelists to introduce themselves because they know themselves best. And we'll start with Manjeet.
Hi everyone, my name is Manjeet Devgan. I'm based here in New York. I'm a meditation coach. I also facilitate breathwork, healing, and I work one-on-one, but I also teach in New York and now around the world because of this time. And it's a pleasure to be here today. I've also been a music artist all of my life. I grew up in the temple singing hymns on stage with my parents, and that's how I first got into singing. And then you know, the 30 years that I spent recording and writing and also recording meditations for people at the same time, I started to blend the two together. And so it's really nice to kind of be here and share what I have learned throughout my life, because I can see, you know, from what you guys have put together, an amazing panel, how important it is. So really nice to meet you all today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Manjeet. We're really excited for your contribution. Rich, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Rich Ciceron. I'm a personal, well, I started as a personal trainer, but I'm a man who loves to help people with exercise, whether they love it or not. I currently work as a personal consultant with my own company, Live Rich Fitness, but also work on the corporate side of fitness because I've been in the industry for about 10 years, just working at different types of corporation gyms, private wellness, semi-private. One-on-one is really what I love just because I get to get down and dirty, I guess you could say, with people in terms of attacking demons. That's what got me into it. I come from a place where I was unhealthy personally, a culture that struggled with it personally, and just, you know, a community that could use help for it. So I saw the need in the world, and I bring it forth to everyone to look to help to bring strength and confidence to people, because it's like a huge thing to be able to like live something. I have like grandmas throwing hundreds of pounds around, and that makes me light up, to be honest with you, because it's just like, you know, bringing love to the world. So that's me, that's who I am, and I'm hopefully can spread some of that around today through my examples of exercise.
Beautiful, I'm sure you will. Millie, tell us about yourself.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here. My name is Millie Lytle and I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor and nutritionist who became an epidemiologist. So I had an in-person practice one-on-one for a long time, and then I started realizing that it's really how society conducts itself and the impact of industry and all the top-down structures that impact the individual. And so I became interested in population health a lot more and studied healthcare in Germany and Canada and the US. Now I'm in New York and I run a self-care club online, and we started a year and a half before COVID. So we got a head start on the Zoom thing. And I'm also head of coaching for an autoimmune startup. We focus on finding triggers for people with autoimmune disease. So I'm super passionate about nutrition, bottom up and top down, and just really happy to be here and share with you today.
Awesome, awesome. I'm super excited for what you're going to share with us. Last but not least is Dan, one of the OG Wellness Starter Pack experts.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Dan Gartenberg, so grateful to be here and share some sleep wisdom with you. I'm a cognitive psychologist and an assistant professor at Penn State. trying to change how people sleep, because it's the thing that we do. Basically, it's the human behavior we do the most of. And I'm really inspired by this holistic health angle. It's something that we really need. Coming from a family of healthcare providers, I've seen how broken the system can really be. As a doctor, as the son of a doctor who always told his son not to become a doctor because of how broken the system was. And so, something that really inspires me is combining all of these modalities. And, I think they're all important. Personally, I think sleep is sort of the cornerstone of our health and wellness. And so I built a startup called Sleep Space that tries to bring all of this knowledge about how to relax the mind for a better night of sleep, improve productivity and creativity, exercise, and nutrition. So that's me in a nutshell.
Healthier in a nutshell.
Healthier in a nutshell.
Thank you guys so much. We are so honored and grateful to have you all here. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. Just a little bit about kind of what we all deal with. It's a really interesting thing because usually Nicole and I at the top of our events, we talk about the unique challenges of wellness in music. And they're even more unique now because they're super different. Usually we're talking about, late nights, being out, being surrounded by alcohol, being, on the road, sleep challenges. And these days, during what we can call COVID times, which Nicole and I refer to them as, I think we all do, we're kind of up against a new set of challenges. So I want to invite everybody to kind of drop in the chat any current challenges that you're facing, whether they're the same things that you've been facing as part of the music industry or in your life, or if they've changed now with the change of the landscape of our world. It will be interesting to explore some of those. And we can kind of see what you guys are dealing with. I feel like there are probably going to be a lot of through lines. So yeah, I wanted to start with Manjeet. We're talking about mindfulness. We're talking about creatives. We're talking about some very unique circumstances that we're under, regardless if, within a unique industry that we're in. What can you speak a little bit to the role of mindfulness in the life of a creative?
It's so important for anyone. I think you will all agree. But being a creative, if you're not meditating, I really feel that you're not finding your authentic voice. Not to say that there aren't artists out there that just drop into what they're doing, but especially in a time like this, when you actually take the time to close your eyes, go inward, slow your brain waves down, you're actually able to drop into who you are on your path in an authentic way. And so when you're struggling, or if you are struggling, especially during this time, it's nice to have a practice that you can hold steadfast to, that allows you mentally to feel good in your body, even if things aren't going the right way. So, you notice this, right? When you're in the shower and ideas come to you because you're relaxed. If you're constantly stressed all the time, and I've been through the many different hills of being an artist, being a broke artist, trying to get signed, having great weeks in the studio recording as well. Living that life of an artist is not easy. And much to, what people who have worked in the industry know, there's a lot of bad habits that surround the artists that are surrounded by, whether they want to partake in them or not. And I think that mindfulness is the most important habit to have, because it allows you to stay steadfast in who you are, in your truth, and to your unique path. And that's not only being mentally fit, but also to your art as well. Let's talk about the fact that especially when you're a new artist, you're getting pulled in different directions. You're being asked to do different things by the label, what you're being asked to do as opposed to what you want to create. And I think that if you have a strong mental mind and you have your mental fitness in check, you're able to make decisions more from your gut, right? Because meditation helps increase your intuition, and you're able to not feel so flustered. So there's so many components to it that is so important in allowing you to feel not only yourself, not only being mentally fit, but also being able to navigate your true, unique, authentic path, which I am so passionate about, because it also involves recognizing your self-worth. And also when you meditate, you're able, like I said, to increase your intuition, and creatively, it's amazing. You know, you go into this space and you can think of things that actually help influence songs as a creative, and also just keep your mind, you know, 100%, which is something that we all need.
Yeah, beautiful. That's perfect. I think it applies to really everyone beyond creatives too. And people who work on the industry side are definitely creative in their own way. I wanted to spin that also and ask Millie, in your work with creative people, I know you work with, you know, with people across different types of creative disciplines. What are some of the common themes that come up? You're muted, Millie.
Thank you. So definitely what I see with creatives are intense periods where one's throwing themselves into their work and essentially neglecting all other aspects of life. I think that that's a big one. So as somebody who focuses on radical self-care, where we prioritize, you know, the lifestyle first, the healthy lifestyle first, being creative in and of itself and spending like 8, 12, 16 hours in the studio without drinking water, without running to the bathroom, without eating a meal. I mean, really all that shifts the biochemistry of the body. And so that's one thing. I mean, definitely you've mentioned some of them, lack of sleep, alcohol, stimulants, grab and go food, not paying attention to the nutritional density of food. And as I'm sure we'll talk about later, you know, the nutritional density of food is extremely important in refueling our own biochemistry that we need on a daily basis in order for all of our mental well-being as well as our physical well-being to function. So, so to keep it short, I guess those are the big challenges that I'm seeing in terms of, you know, what creatives face is these long stretches of being creative, which essentially neglects these other aspects of our life.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of sort of neglecting of self-care when people are hyper-focused. And Dan, I'm wondering how in your work, obviously with sleep, what you see as the role of sleep for people who are in this industry or being creative. I mean, obviously it's this huge umbrella, but how does it specifically impact creatives?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. You know, similar to the mindfulness angle of things, you know, sleep is really how we form the fabric of our consciousness, right? And I think a lot of times as creatives or just anyone, you know, you're sort of channeling your creativity, and you have to be very conscientious of that. And when it comes to sleep, I see these transitions between falling asleep and waking up as really opportunities for us to set our consciousness. You know, we have this inclination with our society, especially nowadays with, you know, not being stimulated that much by our environment given COVID. In sleep science, what we would say is we aren't getting what are called Zeitgebers, which is a German word for timekeepers, which means we're not getting these external cues from our environment that are pulling us out in a healthy way and setting basically our circadian rhythm. And so when I'm thinking about creativity, I'm thinking about personally for myself, you know, I'll sometimes get into, and I can speak for myself on this, like a sort of a manic-y, programmy mode where I'm doing a lot of in a flow state. And I think a big part of this is having metacognition for where you're at, and being aware of when maybe you're in a manic-y state and knowing when you should sleep. You know, there's famous anecdotes about people like Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Dali would famously taking naps to inspire their creativity because they're doing a lot of heavy lifting cognitive work. So if you want to inspire your creativity, you can take a 20-minute power nap. and that kind of clears the consciousness and allows you to readdress the problem. If you're having trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, which I saw someone on the thread mention, you should never take a power nap. So that's kind of why, first and foremost, I want everyone to think about where they're at with their sleep, and do the thing that's right for them.
That's extremely helpful. So yeah, just for anyone that's new that joined since our initial introduction, that worksheet that we sent around, Helena actually posted a link to it up top in the chat if you want to grab that, so you can write down some stuff that everyone's saying in the different categories. But Dan, what you just said about power naps, I think is super valuable. That, you know, people do say, you know, creatives should take power naps because this person and this person, but if you're experiencing things like not being able to stay asleep, power naps are not for you. So I think that's great. We do get a lot of, you should do this. And it's like, should I do this? Or is that not for me? So I think that's really valuable information. Cool. Speaking of things that I should do, let's talk to Rich about exercise. Rich, mindfulness in exercise, especially for creatives or real. Rich knows me pretty well, so that's extra funny. But we're home these days. You know, a lot of us, we're not, you know, commuting as much as, you know, a lot of us aren't commuting still. I know that we've got people all around the world. We're all in different situations, but we're generally home for more than we normally are. I think I've seen a lot of people posting in the chat that, you know, artists that are maybe not on the road right now, they do have some more time to do things like sleep and exercise and take care of themselves, which is fantastic. So theoretically, we should be exercising more, moving our bodies more. What happens when we don't feel like it? When we know that we should do it, but we just can't quite, you know, get it going?
That's a good one. See, I was set up for a completely different directional question, but that's a mindfulness question. Believe it or not, like it's tied to exercise. And I love the fact that you know, I spoke last, because everything that, you know, Manjeet, Millie, and Dan said is stuff that all my career I've focused on, like looking to hone in on, right? Because that's what not only delivers the best results for myself, but for other people. So when you ask me, how do I get out of the place, or how do I help people get out of the place where they, you know, they do the thing that they don't want to do? I'm reminded of the book, I forget the author's name, I think it might be Robert Greene, but Eat That Frog, right? Like, get it done, right? There's one or two mindsets that you can keep in your head. It's like, I can either wait to eat this gigantic slimy frog at the end of the day next to my dessert, or I could just get it over with when I get up, right? There's that one mindset. And there's the other mindset, which I tend to take more often. It's the mindset of winning, because of the background and the history that I have personally coming from the things that I bank on. It's more like it's an uplifting thing, you know, the result that's at the end. So I guess I sort of take the exercise as like the carrot at the end of the stick, where it's like the feeling that I'm going to get from that, you know, the accomplishment, even if I lose everywhere else, right? Like in my field, I have to do a lot of selling. 100 people tell me no, and the one person that tells me yes to the $20 little bottle thing, and I'm way behind on goals. It's okay, because you know what I mean? Like, I've centered myself and I did that thing that I have to do to make myself feel a certain way. So to make, you know, a long story short, if you don't feel like doing it, just remember, think of the greatest benefits that you'll have, right? Like happiness beyond all other things, you know, at the very least, you'll feel good, which usually is a great place for creatives. I know the creatives that I've worked with, whether it's independent artists or concert, you know, orchestra players, they just enjoy being in a place where they're relaxed and they can tap into their best selves. So yeah, keep that carrot in mind, and, you know, think about the sweet carrot at the end, I guess is what I tell people.
I love that. So I think sometimes we're told, you know, we talk sometimes about willpower and how that's not really effective long-term strategy. And I love the idea of, instead of like rewarding yourself with something because you did the exercise, that the feeling that you get from the exercise is the reward, and kind of reminding yourself about that. I always joke, like, every time, you know, if you do exercise and you're like, I feel so great, like I should do this all the time, and then you like immediately forget, and the next time you should do exercise, you're like, and you have to kind of go, I guess, predict the future and remind yourself of that carrot, like but I'm gonna feel so great. Do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for like doing just that? Like anything that's sort of like an instant reminder?
An instant reminder, you mean like cognitively or like physically kind of thing? Because there's a lot of
I guess both.
reminders that I set up. Instant cognitive reminder is just, it sort of kicks in after a while, to be honest with you. Like I just enjoy moving. It's one of those things that I've always, I guess you could say, been blessed with. So gift and a curse, because then I end up hungry, really hungry, because I burn a lot of energy. But the body reminder that I use is usually like the world's greatest stretch. That's something that, you know, that I've done with you in terms of like training, and it's pretty much like a stretch. And I'll move now to show you all. Can I show you all? Yeah?
Yeah,
all right.
yes.
So it's a movement, or it's a stretch rather, that I do. And you can hear me still, but you'll see my dirty Stan Smiths because I'm still conditioning them. Everyone can still hear me? Yeah? All right, awesome. So what I do is I get my entire body to light up. You mentioned earlier, Marnie, that sitting is something that we do a lot of now. We're stuck in the house. So I like to promote a lot of opening up of the hamstring and the hips. Now, I'm no yogi, so please don't, you know, expect me to be able to drop my head to the floor. But I like to promote stretching of the hamstring. So we start in the world's greatest stretch by reaching down to the toes, right? So I'm going to move closer to you guys because I like to be close up to speak. But when you get down here, a lot of the other focus too is to focus on your hips, opening left and right hips, right? Just things that I know that we're not doing as much of, right? If we don't get to go outside and necessarily exercise or move, opening the hips can prevent knee injuries, which, you know, usually ends up in all types of other misery that people don't enjoy. And it usually ends up leading to unfortunate circumstances where you have to like alter your body, right? And then we're going backwards. That adds to the stress, cortisol levels build, and it's all counterintuitive, counteractive to our health. So I like to promote to people that they, at the very least, get to the point where they're moving, right? So at this point, look where I am from the point where I was just standing up a second ago and telling you, hey, you know, let's start this workout. Imagine if I was a, you know, a sad sack guy at the top, and not even like judgmentally, but like, oh, it's a rainy day outside, like today it is in New York, and I don't want to do this, and I'm sore like I am now. But now I'm on the floor, and my mood is completely different place, and I can think to myself, like, you know what, this is not that bad. I've been meaning to get my squats in anyway. Maybe I should run that half a mile that I told myself I was going to run. And your attitude changes. And I learned over the years that, like, scientifically, endorphin levels jump, you know? So just movements like this that allow you to move better and feel better and get to the point where you actually don't have any more of those cobwebs, or the rest, whether you just woke up or you just finished the conference call, like most people are doing nowadays. You'll at the very least be in a higher internal temperature state to stimulate other things, right? And when we're talking about creatives and creativity, I personally feel like that's like an instantaneous cue to jump to it, right? Yeah, at least that's what I think. I hope that was helpful, and you guys didn't mind me stretching on your camera in your faces.
I love it. I love that stretch so much. I've done that stretch, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I sometimes talk about like exercise, like stretching, as the glow sticks that we all used to get, like at, you know, I guess it's been a while since anyone's gotten a glow stick of any kind, but you know, you break it, you crack it, and you see the glow kind of come into it. That's always kind of what I think about when I stretch, is like you stretch and you go, oh, I can feel it, you know, kind of in my body. The world's greatest stretch is the best glow stick ever.
That's awesome. That's great.
I also wanted to ask you, so in terms of having like a plan, so you said, I love what you said about like, maybe I start the stretch, maybe I will go further, maybe I will do some squats. Now I'm here, I might as well do whatever. How can we kind of like create a plan what are the elements of that plan that might look like, so that we can kind of like have it sort of mapped out for us, so that we know, okay, when I do get myself into it, this is what I'm going to do.
Elements of a plan always start with like the end in mind. You know what I mean? Like, figure out what you're fighting for first and foremost. I come from a place where longevity is number one. To me, just feeling good all the time. So with that in mind, it gives me an understanding of what I want to do. I don't necessarily need to be doing Olympic lifting, and committing to that level of stuff and getting into that mindset, which will stress me out. Knowing where you want to end up at the very least will give you an idea, and it just eliminates a lot of the other clutter, so to speak, the fads that are out there. When you figure things like that out, things that fall into place, and I'm pretty sure Dan and Millie can agree, is like how you're going to have to eat to get to whatever the heck your goal is, right? Whether it's be to gain weight and, you know, grow muscle, drop fat, help your cholesterol, and how much regeneration am I going to need? That's a big thing that people tend to leave out in the gym. You know what I mean? Think about the amount of sleep and recovery you're going to need, because the gym is just a demolition site. You're only going in there to break stuff down, to build new muscle. But if you're not sleeping to build it and giving your body, just like Millie said earlier, the nutrients that you need, you're not going to get there. So I say all this to get to the point that understand what your baseline is, like what baseline health that you have and what you're aiming for. And then whatever plan you're going to need, because I understand I'm speaking to creatives, and my experience in working with creatives, just like that, things change at the drop of a dime, and it's unfair to put a person under that stress to say, follow this strictly, like you're on a football team when you know you're just going to play on the football field and select football fields. Life changes, so you're going to have to be able to adjust to that. Best thing to do is figure out who you are, who you want to be, and get life to mold to that, as opposed to molding it to life, because then things just usually fall out of place at that point. So start with a plan in mind, and then find the things that work for you, and then execute. Commit to that plan and execute for dear life. Because, you know, for me personally, I look at it like that, like for dear life.
Can you, I love that. Can you just repeat what you said so everyone can write it down in their the workbook or the worksheet about commit to a plan?
Sure.
Yeah, that just was like you said like some really great thing right then. I just wanted you to repeat it.
Sure, absolutely. Start with a plan, like start with your goal in mind so that you can develop a plan. Understand your baseline. So start with who you are and what you are and are not good at. A lot of times we don't like to point out the weaknesses as much as the strengths, and compare that or hold it comparatively, excuse me, to what you want to become, so that you can develop a program, and or at least a routine that's going to allow you to become that person with your life in mind. And when you find out what those exercises, what those practices are going to be, what those regimens are that you implement into your life, you can then commit to those, right? And you don't have to be a star at any of them, right? Let's just say I wanted to take up Jeet Kune Do. I'm not going to be Bruce Lee great by the end of the year. It might take me another 20 years just to get a third of what he is, but at least I'm committing to it. And once you've committed to it, hold on to it no matter what, you know, be disciplined to hold on to it, because it's what you want. And you remember that day in and day out, and your routines are going to help you remember that, because it's rooted in something that's close to you.
Love that. We love routines at Equilibrium. We talk about them a lot. So I think having that template, having that sort of plan, yeah, that's invaluable to just kind of have that set up for you, so that it's not like, even if the plan is like put my workout clothes on, or have a workout plan that I don't need to change, you know, kind of knowing yourself, knowing what works for you. But yeah, I think that's kind of the jam. And we'll send around some stuff after this to everybody, like, so maybe some instructions on how to do the world's greatest stretch, so you can do that at home anytime. Do you have, Rich, is that anywhere on like your Instagram as a video or anything?
Yes, it is. I actually have like daily videos of like how to shake off the cobwebs. So you can definitely follow me at Mr. Live Rich on Instagram. And all of the other, I guess you could say, ways to find me and information, email is on that page as well. I can also share it in the chat if you guys would like, if you have like personal questions, because that's what I enjoy doing. Like, I don't like cookie cutters as much. So very specific things to find on the page, and reach out, you know, I'm personable.
Awesome. Yes, please do drop that in there. Thank you.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you so much, Rich. That's all really, really valuable, important stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to address Millie and talk about nutrition for a minute. I think, you know, we are, in general, all the things that you had mentioned previously about creatives and, you know, kind of neglecting nutrition and not making time for things. And now things are a little bit different for a lot of people with COVID. And I kind of, you know, wanted you to talk a little bit about how mindset factors into nutrition, kind of with changes in routines, right? And then also how nutrition needs are different during times of high stress, which I think we're all experiencing, whether we feel, you know, like blatantly stressed out, or it's like this low grade trauma that we're all experiencing that obviously has an impact on how we feel.
So the type of nutrition I teach is definitely a mindful based nutrition. So we can't actually determine what is the best food for us to eat or what we should be eating based on a general diet out there. I mean, some people, you know, pick a diet, it's good for them. Okay, great. But it might not be great for their neighbor, their sister, their wife. So we really do need to become acquainted with checking in with ourselves and how we're eating now, how we're doing now before we can determine what's best for us to eat. I think that's one definite. So mindset's so important. The other thing I think is that it's, and this is a little bit picking up on what Rich said about creating a plan, I would call it setting an intention, because we really do realize our intentions around food. I mean, if we first of all have no intentions around what we're eating, then it ends up being just random, or what we have in the fridge, or we have no real plan about how we're giving ourselves nutrients. But we also do need to understand what nutrients are good for, and both in the, you know, macronutrients like the carb, sugar, protein, fats, and all the different qualities of all of those, but then also the micronutrients, you know, the vitamins and the minerals. We should have an idea of like that, to kind of pick up on what I said before about the biochemistry. If we are, I don't like the comparison that we are machines, because obviously we are conscious and we are emotional, and that is different, vastly different from a machine. However, our body is made up of biochemical components that require essential nutrition every day. And when we see the word essential followed by nutrition, that means that our bodies don't make those nutrients. So we need to eat them. We need to consume them every day. I mean, we being humans, and luckily food tastes good. However, we do need to set the intention to select the food that contains the nutrients that we need, because just like some food gives us nutrition, other food robs us of nutrition. And so you really do want to check in with yourself. What are you eating? I mean, we all know the Michelle Obama plate, or we all know the theoretical basis of a good diet. But in terms of, for you, how does food make you feel? How does the food that you're eating make you feel? And so in terms of how routine has changed over COVID, I would say it's changed differently for people. I mean, some people have really embraced cooking at home more. And some people have, you know, are eating more fruits and vegetables. They're finding time to eat with their families more. They're finding more quality time at home. And so that's amazing. They've set those intentions and incorporated time for themselves and for their, you know, to reset their priorities. Other people are eating like an apocalypse diet, I would say, and, you know, basically stored up on KD or Mr. Noodles or what have you, not to promote brands, but, you know, processed noodles and sauce. And basically if you're eating that and whatever takeout's available around the corner, you know, then that's the COVID diet is not, you know, then it leads to what the COVID-15 or the COVID-19 or whatever people are saying about having gained weight throughout COVID. This is not accidental, you know, it's what we plan, it's what we set the intention to do knowingly or unknowingly. And so that's why mindfulness is so important when it comes to food.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know you have kind of a process that you work with your clients on in terms of how people can start to correlate like what they're experiencing with what they're eating and when they're eating. Can we talk to our attendees about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it is a matter of checking in with yourself, how you're feeling. So the first thing is, how do I feel after I eat a meal? We tend to think about food in terms of convenience. We tend to think about food in terms of what is tasty and what we like to eat or what we're used to eating. But I really stretch or ask my patients to stretch themselves beyond what they like to eat and ask themselves, how does it feel once it's down, once it's in your belly? And that brief fleeting experience of having tasted the food is over. And now all the chemicals are doing their work. They're either doing either servicing you and your goals, your creative goals and your energy goals, or they are disserving you or doing yourself a disservice. And I saw that somebody asked a question about coffee, for instance. You know, coffee is a brain stimulant. It makes us focus in little bits. It's good for the liver. It could be the only bitter herb that Americans are eating or consuming on a daily basis, which is great for flushing out our system. And people rely on coffee and caffeine to have a bowel movement, unfortunately, because everything else they're eating is constipating them. However, coffee robs us of nutrition. It steals our electrolytes. It dehydrates us. So for every caffeinated beverage we're having, we have to think that we're at a loss, not a benefit in terms of our nutrition. And then also, is coffee a vehicle for something else? Is coffee a vehicle for sugar or aspartame or dairy or some other food that's not good for us? And so I really have people check in with themselves as to what they're doing, how they're feeling, and then we do a 3-day diet recall. So once you've set, you know, how have I felt the last 3 days? Did I have an incident, an emotional incident? Were you low? Were you high? Were you high and low? Were you restless, agitated? Studies do show that panic attacks are more likely in people who have not eaten breakfast. And so there's a direct correlation between what calories we've eaten and what kind of calories or what sources of nutrients are in the calories that we've consumed in order for our body to respond. And so do you want me to do the 3-day diet recall now?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, so I think it's on everybody's sheet.
We didn't give them instructions, but there's a space for people on the worksheet to kind of write down and work through this.
Okay, so once you've kind of checked in with yourself and assessed how you felt over the last few days, then I would say try to clear your mind of that and then go into the nutrition component. So starting with what you ate today, write everything down and include beverages and include, so all beverages including water and what you ate, and then go towards last night's dinner or whatever you ate. And it can also be important to include times, especially if you're eating late or if there's long periods of time between what you ate. So just go ahead and write all that down and then back 3 days.
Yeah.
And then once you have that, then you compare to see, okay, I know that this incident happened then. I know that, and this is what I find that happens with my patients, is that they have a real aha moment between, oh yeah, that's the time that I hadn't eaten because of this happened, and you were hangry, and then something, happened, and everything that where we get stimulated in the brain, like if we're stimulated by sugar, if we're stimulated by stress, and then it causes more sugar to go into our bloodstream, it has to come down as well. So then our hormones have to kick in, our insulin has to kick in, pull that excess sugar out and store it, and then we can go to a hypoglycemic place. So you also might notice that highs and lows happen, and those happen because of an inability for our body to balance what it is that we've eaten or account for what it is that we haven't eaten as well. So there's direct connection between that feeling of having gone too long between meals or not having eaten, having that agitated feeling, and then having the feeling of needing a nap or being excessively tired or exceedingly tired. Those are all related biochemically, and it's related to nutrition. And when one starts eating better, also their sleep becomes so much easier. And so, I love the fact that you're having this event that ties all these 4 components. And even though we're all representing a specialty, of course, we're all talking about each other's as well, because that's how intertwined it all is together. So.
Yeah, profoundly so. And I think also just to prompt people, like if you can't remember what you ate or how you felt, like start today, write down like what you eat and how you feel today for the next 3 days, and then reflect on it for yourself so that you can figure out if what you're doing is good for you. And really, like you say, be mindful about and have intention with what you're eating, because I think when people get into like a trauma stress state, it's kind of like, I'm just eating whatever, or like I bought all these cans of beans because I thought the world was ending and now I have to eat them. You know, I mean, like I have a huge can of tomato sauce in my kitchen, you know, that's real. But I think, you know, the other thing that I wanted to share with people was about water, because the person asked about coffee and caffeine and sort of like, how do people hydrate properly? Like, is there a formula? Like, how do we make sure that, like, even if our eating is kind of out of whack and we're getting that dialed in, like focusing on water feels like a simple, direct thing we can do.
Yeah, so water is so important because it carries the nutrients to our cells. Our cells are hydrophilic and hydrophobic. So we've got a fatty end of our cells, and we've got a water end of our cells. And so our cells absorb water soluble nutrients, all the B vitamins, which are good for lowering stress, all the and vitamin C also good, which are water soluble. And then they also need fats to absorb the omega-3s and the vitamin E and the vitamin D and the vitamin A. So for water is essential for carrying our nutrients and also for carrying our blood. I mean, we can't actually grow more red blood cells and turn over our red blood cells at the same rate, and nor do they get distributed evenly, nor can oxygen get deposited in our brain if we are not hydrated. So again, it's all this biochemistry. And I'm an ultimately spiritual person, so I'm not reducing our bodies to biochemistry, but it's just that these simple factors are so important when it comes to how our body functions on a daily basis. And so the equation that I like to use for water is half your body weight in pounds in ounces of water. So you drink half your body weight in pounds in ounces of water. So if I'm 120 pounds, I drink 60 ounces of water, which is almost 8 cups of water, plus an extra for every dehydrating beverage that I'm consuming, most of which are alcoholic and caffeinated. So if I'm having 2 cups of coffee, then I would have 10 glasses of water. If I'm having 2 cups of coffee and a beer, then I'm having 11 glasses of water. And so you take your own measurement.
That's great.
Taller people have more blood volume. They need more water than small people. And so that's part of the weight factor. People who are overweight or obese also need more water because there's more detox stress going on. There's more inflammation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think also it's goes back to the whole, like, if you're drinking alcohol, drink a glass of water in between. You know, that's kind of like the age old kind of fallback that a lot of people I think used to share. So I think that is all really super useful.
And I used to be really strict on people and say that carbonated water didn't count, but now I'm less strict because there's better quality seltzers out now, I guess, and less carbon dioxide and phosphorus in the water. But you do want to be aware, if you're drinking sparkling water, that how much sodium is in that water, because there can be a lot of salt and phosphorus, which are kind of leaching minerals instead of giving you minerals. So
that's a good point.
Seltzer counts, but you do want to be aware. It doesn't really replace water.
That's a good point. I know some people that live on seltzer.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good point.
Not to mention what it does for your stomach.
Right. Right. Yes. That's a really good point. There's a seltzer resurgence, rejuvenation in life right now, I feel like. So I think it's good for people to know the difference and have that distinction. Awesome. Thank you, Millie. I think with that in mind, I want to kind of pivot to Dan and, you know, talk a little bit about sleep, obviously, but just, you know, obviously with all of these topics we're talking about holistic health, we're also talking about mental health. And so, you know, can you talk a little bit about the importance of sleep for mental health and also mental health on sleep? I think there's a lot of people in the music industry that are night owls or have different sleep schedules normally, and, you know, may not be able to change that now, or maybe they're changing that now. But yeah, share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, sleep is, when you look at things that impact how sleep impacts, you know, mental health or, you know, chronic illnesses, it basically impacts every single one. So oftentimes, you know, if people are experiencing depression, they'll sleep more. If you're experiencing, you know, a bipolar episode, you'll sleep less. There's really interesting science where if people go to basically areas of the world where there's no darkness, it can trigger sort of a manic episode through activating their circadian rhythms. Because, you know, sleep is tied to our personality. We're actually, when we're sleep deprived, there's some science showing you have a decreased sense of humor when you're sleep deprived, because that's like a higher level cognitive process. And
Makes sense.
you don't need a scientific article to tell you, right? When you're sleepy, you're moody. And frankly, I think our society, in large part, is dealing with some chronic pathologies that are largely due to being chronically sleep deprived. You know, 1 in 3 people isn't getting enough sleep. And I think when we're speaking to each of one of us, a practitioner in our own space has seen how individual this is. And, you know, Western medicine can be really good at identifying a problem, you know, like a broken bone, looking at it on a CAT scan, MRI, and fixing it. But it's really not so great at taking into account this individual picture, understanding that, oh, you have a gluten issue. And Millie, I'd love to talk to you after this at some point, because I'm trying to isolate an issue that I'm having personally. You know, and, you know, maybe eating bread is perfectly fine for someone, but it's not fine for someone else. And when it comes to sleep, there's a lot of similarities in that. So that's why I want to hammer home for everyone, just like look inside yourself and, you know, try to think about where you're at. So, you know, in sleep health, an academy of the top researchers came together for a consensus report and said that adults need on average 7 to 9 hours of sleep on a regular basis. So that, you know, speaks to the variability. You know, a lot of people aren't getting that 7. Almost everyone, you know, 99% of people should be getting 7 hours of sleep on a regular basis. To get that sleep, by the way, you have to probably spend a little extra time in bed. It's actually not, it's a bad sign if you're asleep the entire time. It means you might be sleep depriving yourself. So usually you need at least like 7.5 to 8 hours in bed to get the sleep that you need. Now, again, with these individual differences, you have 30% of people that are night owls. You have 30% of people that are morning larks, as they would say. And then about 40% of people are flexible, and they can shift between these kind of circadian rhythms, is how you would think about it, these 24-hour rhythms. And the reason for this, there's probably an evolutionary biology reason for this. You know, we were in tribes of 100 people for a long time, and it was advantageous for someone to always be awake. Only recently, with industrialization and whatnot, there's been this societal push towards the morning lark. Oftentimes at the, it's almost like a prejudicial thing, almost at the prejudice of someone who's naturally a night owl. And a lot of people in the music industry, I'm not in the music industry, but I make content and stuff that has musical aspects to it. And, you know, I like to work late into the night, and there's a creativity that can happen, I think, sometimes later in the night too. And so for people who are night owls, especially now that there's less pressure to wake up in the morning, and, you know, we have to work with people's schedules on this, it's okay to be a night owl. There's nothing naturally wrong with you if you're a night owl. It's okay to be a morning person. What I would say is do the things in your environment to entrench that rhythm. You know, if you're a morning person, you would want to eat in the morning. You know, don't do an intermittent fast in the morning, which is, if you're trying to be a morning person, which is something that I see in a lot of my clients sometimes. If you're a night owl, and usually the best time to work out, by the way, is about 2 hours after you wake up and right before dinner, from like a circadian rhythm perspective. If you're a night owl, maybe do the workout later on in the day instead of in that earlier interval. And obviously light plays such a big role in this. And I love light because it's basically our most natural drug. And light controls neurotransmitters in the brain that release and inhibit melatonin. And, you know, a lot of times we're at our computer screens late at night, this is messing with that rhythm, or we're watching doing a Netflix and binge late at night, activating emotional centers in our brain, which are not setting the stage for sleep. So in sleep science, they say sleep happens a half hour before sleep. You're not expected to just turn off your brain like that. And with the technology and everything else, it can be trying. So these are just some things to have in mind.
That's great.
Awesome.
And also in the, just wanted to say one thing, Marnie, before we jump over, that we emailed everyone pre-event for the sleep assessment that's on Dan's website at Sleep Space. You can kind of go through, do the assessment for yourself, figure out, you know, people in the chat are putting in like people have trouble staying asleep, falling asleep, nightmares, you know, hot flashes, all different kinds of things. And the sleep assessment can give you some individual information on how to deal with that. And then we'll also send after the workshop a code for a free trial of the Sleep Space app as well. So you guys can explore that and kind of dig more deeply into Dan's work, because there's obviously so many layers into sleep and so many ways to kind of address it. And it's like everything else, highly personalized. And, you know, but I think you've shared some really good basic outlines that kind of address some of the big sleep challenges. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Yeah, and happy to give it away for 30 days. If you just type in Union into something called Sleep Challenge in our app, we just give it away for you for 30 days.
Yeah, we'll share that information with you guys after follow-up email as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that's helpful, because I think that seems to be a big issue for a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah, definitely. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about kind of the change in what's going on now and sort of how their schedules have shifted. Even if it's for the better and they have more time, it's still a shift in routine. It's a shift in schedule. And Manjeet, I wanted to talk to you a bit about that, about kind of what we can do when like our feelings change, everything kind of that's going on with us changes. Really at any point. Right now, I think a lot of our feelings have changed because of what's going on with COVID, but we might be have some heightened anxiety. We might also be stagnant. So what are some things that we can do right now in the moment when we're not sure what to do?
Just breathe, like really connecting to your breath. A lot of people like, I did this mantra meditation training and I meditated twice a day, 20 minutes, you know, and I had to, like, listen, much to what Dan is saying. And thank you for all that information, Dan. I'm so on point. Sleep is so important. You know, everyone's individual, right? It's a weird fact, but I've been reading palms for 30 years. My grandmother taught me. And how I first started doing sessions was I realized that, oh, I don't want to be just someone that reads palms. It's like, I want to actually, I can see trauma, I can see certain things on people's hands. We're all unique individuals, right? Like we're artists, like no matter what we're doing in the world, we have our own unique path. And so we need to tailor our mental health regimen to what suits us as well. And a lot of people are telling me, I can't meditate because I am so stressed. So before you even start to try and sit down and do the classic, you know, quieten the breath meditation, it's so important to actually just connect to your body, right? Connecting to mind, body, and spirit. And, you know, just by taking a deep breath, what we did at the beginning of this session, right? Connecting to your body and then exhaling for twice as long. Even if you only do that for 2 to 5 minutes, that really works. You know, even feeling an inflow of breath in and out of your chest area for, you know, 4 counts in and 4 counts out. That in itself is something that's going to help you connect to your body, calm down your nervous system, tell your parasympathetic nervous system, oh, my body is ready for me to relax, and giving me permission to go into downgrading, you know, all the stress right now. So your body gets that signal. So I definitely would recommend, like someone just mentioned in the chat, yes, we're all feeling a lot of collective stress right now. Just breathe, just take 2 minutes in the morning to get up, inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 8. And that in itself will set you up to either meditate or to at least be in a place where you said, okay, I'm in my body, I'm connected, and this will stop me from, you know, freaking out immediately first thing in the morning, you know? So yeah.
Just want to invite everyone to add that to their workshop. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 8. I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do. And it's true. We inhale, but we don't exhale.
And inhale deep. You know, a lot of us are chest breathers. We don't realize it. You know, when you breathe into your belly, you want the ends of your lungs, right at the bottom of your lungs is where you really want to fill up those sacs with oxygen and carbon dioxide, you know, takes place the most. And we're chest breathing, and that actually encourages anxiety attacks, right? When we breathe deep into our belly, it's like we're also on a spiritual level, we're opening up all our torso and we're saying, okay, let me let all this new fresh energy in, expand myself from within. And then on that exhale twice as long, then you're actually signaling your body to, oh, you know, I'm not in fight or flight now. I'm able to kind of use this as a little mini practice. Every morning I increase it. And that's, you know, another quick thing I want to add to that is like, be kind to yourself, you know, don't expect yourself to like, oh, I've got to do this and wake up and have this, you know, regimen. I think what's beautiful about all the practitioners here is that we're bringing these little nuggets, and, you know, we want to be able to incorporate them a little at a time. Like Rich was saying, do that power stretch, you know, like honor yourself with what you're eating. If you're drinking too much coffee, like cut back a little bit to begin with. And like what Dan is saying, you know, honor what your body needs to do whilst you can to get that sleep. So by taking in these little nuggets and starting a little at a time, we're able to build and you know, put it into our daily regimen.
I love it. I love to be kind to yourself. I talk to a lot of people and they're like, well, I'm not good at meditation. And it's like, it's not about that. But we're so competitive with ourselves.
Yes, we are. We're very competitive. And I'm actually developing an app right now, working on it, which a lot of the sessions are geared towards, you know, specifically achieving goals. So it's not about just meditating, it's more mind work. It's to do with, if you're feeling anxious, how to specifically get with that. And, you know, I do hypnotherapy as well. And so I'm including everything that I've learned my whole life about, you know, hypnosis, about meditation, about healing work, about, you know, NLP, all these modalities that help us achieve a better state of mind and the steps getting there, because watching the breath is not a great place for a lot of people with anxiety to step into a 20-minute practice twice a day, which is some lineages. And, you know, we can't always just step into that. There has to be a gradual lead into that. And there also has to be, you know, we all need kindness and we need comfort, especially right now.
Absolutely. Well, I think you have a really special meditation to walk us through. I'll let you describe it because I think it's amazing. But yeah, we're going to prepare for a little 5-minute meditation to kind of round us out, and then we'll have some questions. Okay.
So this is, you know, we have energy centers in our body, and this is going to be a very shortened version of what I can do, but I can also do a longer version, and I can post it on my Instagram or something, so I'll be happy to do that. And it's a special creative meditation that you tune into, you know, your creative side of you, and remind yourself that when you go inward, you're able to really go to this relaxed place and kind of use your subconscious mind to get the resources that you need to be creative. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a manager, it doesn't matter, you know, what you're doing in life. I think it's important to remember that we all are creative beings, right? When we slow our body down, we're able to integrate the left and right brain and find solutions to problems, no matter what they are, relationships, health, everything. So let's get straight into this, finding a comfortable seat if you're not in one already. If you're sitting in a chair, just make sure that your feet are flat on the floor, and just invite yourself to let go of the outside world just for 5 minutes. Feeling the weight of your body in your seat, and then just scanning your spine from your tailbone all the way up, feeling that nice long line of energy. So imagine that your spine is like an arrow pointing to the sky, like a receiver ready to receive in information. Allow your head to be parallel to the sky, to the horizon. And just taking a moment to check in with your heart space area, recognizing yourself for the unique, creative being that you are. And then feel your natural cadence of the breath that's flowing in. Observing how that breath flows in and out of your nose. And notice how right below your belly button, you can feel your diaphragm lowering. You feel the exchange of that air, that tiny pause that happens at the end of the inhale and at the beginning of that next exhale. Just focusing on this area. This is the second energy center of your body, your place of creation. Relates to that energy, your sexuality, how you recognize yourself as a creative being. And so on every single inhale, I want you to imagine beautiful orange light flowing in, however you can see this. Maybe it's a beautiful orange mist flowing in, up your nasal passages, down into your belly, feeling that expansion. Every single inhale, that light expands and amplifies in color, right below your belly button. And as your body relaxes even more, and you draw in more of this orange creative light, I want you to think back to the first memory that comes up of you as a child playing in your favorite game of imagination, whatever that was. Just allow yourself to connect to that energy whilst you focus on the inflow of breath, amplifying that light in your belly. Breathing in, amplifying that orange light. And then thinking about the last time you felt creative. It doesn't matter when that memory was. Even when you successfully completed a project, and you felt like you achieved something or came up with a great idea, all you're doing is relaxing your body and allowing your subconscious mind to present to you what is stored in your mind as you feeling successful and creative, and tapping into that energy and amplifying that light in that tiny moment of stillness when you feel that pause between your in and your out breath. And just using this as a reminder, this feeling of being creative, that is so innately a part of who you are. You can breathe in a little bit deeper now, and I want you to send that light all around your body, just using your inner mind, using that visualization, breathing in that breath really strongly now, bringing awareness to your physical body, But imagine seeing yourself exactly how you're sitting as an outline, just filled with this orange light, all the way from the top of your head, down to the bottom of your feet, to the edges of your fingers. Just recognizing yourself for that unique individual that you are. Reminding yourself that there is no one that can do the thing that you want to do in the way that you can do it. And then placing one hand over the heart and the other right below your belly button. And taking one deep breath in for 4 counts into the belly. Fill up your belly like a big balloon. And now I'd like for you to take the biggest exhale that you've taken today. And imagine that exhale like a beautiful wave undulating from the top of your head all the way down your body. Letting go of what you don't need, allowing that orange light to amplify even more in your body, drenched into every single cell of your being. And whenever you're ready, bringing your awareness to the room that you're sitting in and gently opening your eyes. Satnam.
That was amazing. I think every discussion should be ended with that forever.
Great, glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really profound.
I love that. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope you feel amazing, because I feel like I'm floating on an orange cloud. And I love that. I don't, is that called second chakra meditation, or what is it? Does it have a name?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I call it. I kind of, yeah, when it is a second chakra meditation, just linking to your creativity. You know, and when you do it for longer, you know, after 10 minutes, you know, the brain changes a little bit more. After 25 minutes, the left and right brain really cohesively start coming together. But like I said, you know, just starting with 5 minutes of this, and I'll record a longer version, and I'll put it on my Instagram as well, and I'll let you know. I'll do that within the next week, so you just kind of can feel the benefits of it, because it is nicer to, in the beginning, have some guidance, I feel, as well. And then you're able to just, you know, like anything, you kind of, after a couple of tries, you kind of know what to do and how to direct the lights and stuff. So yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure everybody will love to do this again on a regular basis. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And now I think we have a few minutes left. If there, I know there's been some questions throughout, and so we've gathered up a few of them. But if anyone has any other questions, drop them into the chat, and our panelists can address them. Maybe we can start. I know there was one. Let me see who it is. D-Lo said that it's a challenge not being as active as I'm used to, and feeling guilty for not being more productive. Also feeling like I can't be as productive as I'm used to, which I feel like is a very common theme right now. And there's that kind of I should do. Can any of you guys speak to that sentiment, or what's the best thing to do in that situation?
I can say what I've been telling people is that we all lost things during COVID. We all lost something. Some people lost a lot. But we've also all had the opportunity to gain something and to bring something that new into our life. And a lot of people have embraced new activities, new productive activities. So instead of holding ourselves accountable for something that was in the past, let's focus on what is good about now and what you do feel like doing now that can be productive in your life, and building these habits that we're talking about that's going to help you, you know, feel better and more empowered in yourself. So that's what I have to offer on that.
I love that. New possibilities. Cool. Does anybody else want to jump in?
Can I piggyback on Millie's statement there? Like, I was going to say something very much similar. Like, sometimes I realize, like, personally through COVID or, you know, just quarantine, lifting is something that I love to do. And in your mind, you'll think, I guess to that question, it's like the activities that you are used to doing, right? Like, and the way the mind is really strong, it'll trick you into thinking it's like nothing else that's existent that you could be doing. So I was forced to lean on other things like body weight training. I ran a lot more, meditated. Sometimes other activities that will draw in your mind and creativity can help too. There's always a way to, you know, to be active. Sometimes it just takes accepting the moment, you know, and being grateful in the moment for what you have. So that was a great point. Just wanted to touch on that.
I can also add something that's really great for, you know, anyone, like I said, again, whether you're an artist or not, is, you know, journaling. I think now we have a little bit more time. So maybe, especially I saw someone say that they're used to being on the road, and maybe a lot of artists, their day-to-day thing has changed, right? Especially now, you know, people make money. They make their money from touring, and there's no tours, there's no shows hardly. And so spending that time journaling actually helps you in the creative process as well, because even if you wake up and you just do 10 minutes of free flow, you're able to reflect on that. I think of it as like mini therapy, first of all. And then also you're able to, you know, reflect on it a few weeks later or a few days later. And you're actually able to obtain information for, you know, the way that you feel for material. So if you're an artist, you know, allowing that to be, you know, allowing that to be fuel, you know, if you have extra time now, is using that to write, using that to spend more time going deeper into your craft, and using that time so when it is time to tour, you have just so much more tools and foundation to come from. So I really would encourage everyone to journal. You know, and if you're feeling depressed, write about it, write a song about it. I think we all know, like, some of our favorite albums, you know, I love Sade, you know, it's just like, I love artists that are very, very expressive and speak their truth. And, you know, if you're feeling, you know, really, really upset, like, write about it, because people relate to that pain. And that in itself is therapy, right? Music is therapy. So let's, like, lean in on the industry that we're in and use that to help us through this time.
That's perfect. That's really good. I think that's true. There's new possibilities. You know, there's new possibilities for everybody out there in different ways. And instead of relying on the old ways that we used to feel productive, like what's there for us, which can be a hard space to get to. I wanted to just mention this last question, and then we'll wrap it up, from Amanda. I don't know if anyone has something to offer, but how can we speak with employers about mental health and ask them to create working environments which promotes healthy habits, which is obviously an issue for a lot of people. Even if you manage issues within your own control, you know, you have that out there. So does anyone have anything to offer, you know, briefly to Amanda on that kind of big topic?
I would say that I know that in New York City especially, and I'm not sure that this is so much a problem now that it's COVID, but people would compete over or feel peer pressured about not going to lunch, not going to the bathroom. I mean, I had a patient who could literally not leave her desk. She was like a hostess for an ad agency or something and could not leave her desk to poop. Sorry, but to poop all day long. And this, like, circulating toxins in her body, not being able to eat or hydrate properly, all because she doesn't feel like she can get away from the desk to defecate, you know? So, I mean, things like that hopefully are leaving us, but it's really important that we just directly bring it up. I mean, to HR, because we all need lunch. We all have access to breaks, and it's really up to us to take them and to be strong about where our rights are as humans. I think that that's one thing that this time of, you know, rebellion and revolution is teaching us, hopefully, is that we really all do have to stand up for our rights and basic rights like that it's time, that you need time during the day. I hope that helps.
Yeah, Dan, did you want to add something?
No, I mean, I think it's a cultural thing, and eventually the employers who are going to win, I hope, are the ones that treat their employees a little bit healthier. And I mean, you can see, I personally feel running a company that you get better productivity out of people if they're in a good mind state, well rested and healthy. So I hope our generation, the younger generation, will pave the way for some of that. But some employees, some bigger employers are changing the way that they think about this stuff, for sure. And so we've been seeing that, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before we start treating ourselves healthier.
Yeah, I think it's true. Record union being one of them, obviously, there's a keen focus there on wellness. And I think really it's about being an advocate for yourself and finding the right ways to address your concerns with your employer. And it's not always easy to leave if you have an issue, but value yourself and value what's important to you. Bring that up with the people you work with. And if it's not the right working environment for you, then you can, you know, work on trying to find like what's next for you in life. But I do think you're right, Dan, in that a lot of more modern employers, maybe smaller companies, even bigger companies, are really starting to get with the idea that like how you treat people affects their productivity and really their quality of work. And I think with the sort of growth explosion of wellness, you know, across the world, across industries and all these different verticals, you know, hopefully these messages and these themes will kind of seep in and people will kind of get the message more and more, because I think people are realizing like they're worth it. They can advocate for themselves and they have a lot to add, a lot of value to add to companies. And if companies don't value them, then, you know, that's a change that they can make for themselves. Easier said than done, but just a brief response, Amanda. I hope that that was helpful for you. And I think that's about all we have time for. I mean, we have so much more that we wanted to say, but we really want to thank everyone, each one of you, for your contributions. Thank Record Union for partnering with us on this.
Yeah, I also just wanted to add a thank
yes,
you.
Please. Yes,
so
please.
No, that's enough from me. But just thank you so much to all. I mean, Dan, Manjit, Millie, and Rich, and all of you, I mean, who've been here tonight and sharing personal stories. And also special thanks to Nicole and Marnie. Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you so much, Helena. We'll be following up by email to all attendees with some more resources from all of our panelists and some more information from us and Record Union. And we are recording this, I think Marnie mentioned in the beginning, so if you missed part of it or you want to share it with a friend, we'll have that available for you in the coming days. You know, any last comments you want to drop in the chat, if you haven't shared anything, please do. We love to hear from you. Marnie, anything you want to add before we wrap?
Just thank you all so much for joining and participating. And I'm so happy that this was as, you know, interactive as we hoped it would be. And I hope everybody got something out of it. So thank you for sharing and chatting with us.
Yes. Have a wonderful rest of your day, week, and we'll see you soon again.